Hello and welcome to the Risky Business Podcast. I'm Sam Stone. I'm sitting down with people who I have seen take big risks in their life. My goal is to encourage you, challenge you, and push you to take a risk, whatever that may be in your life. Risky business. Let's get risky. Here we go.
Put in work, I got so much potential, it hurts. If y'all do not wake up, then y'all gon' get hurt.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Risky Business Podcast. I'm Sam Stone. I'm sitting down with people who I have seen take big risks in their life. And this whole podcast idea kind of came to me over the last couple of years as I walked through a big change in my life and took a risk for me, which for me at the time was a big risk in 2021, which was jumping into the real estate profession, quitting a job that was W-2 pay, jumping into 1099 pay, going out on my own, taking some chances, being a solo agent off the bat and not joining a team, those type things, which are not important and not important to get into now. But in the end, I saw and realized, man, the earlier you take a risk in life, the faster you're going to get to the point you want to be at, the higher that you can go wherever you want to be. And so as I started to have conversations with people, I started to sit down and realize the people who I wanted to be when I looked at where they were at 40 or 50 or 60 years old all took major risk early on in life. And so I started asking them questions and saying, hey, how'd you get to this point? How'd you get to there? And it all went back to, man, when I was 20 years old, I risked everything I have. And I took the paycheck I was earning and I worked extra hours and I built this business at night or whatever it was. They took major risk early on in life. And in the end, it panned out good or bad. And so my goal of this podcast is to sit down with people who have taken big risk. It's not a thing where my goal is not to bring anybody in who hasn't taken a risk. And so if you watch this podcast, you're going to be challenged, you're going to be encouraged, and also you're going to be pushed to take a risk in your life. And that's kind of what my goal is for this podcast. I've told people if I could sit down in 5 years and have somebody come up to me and say, I watched your podcast in this episode or whatever that interview was, and it made me want to take this risk. And so I started this, or I did that, or I changed this. And so in the end, as we all know, time flies. And I got my real estate license as of now 3 years ago, and it feels like I've been doing it forever. And it's like 3 years flies by. And so since I took that major risk for me, and I'm right now heading into 2025 looking at what my next major risk is. And there's a friend that challenged me with something 2 years ago. It's called a misogi. It's a Japanese proverb. It's like a cleansing period that they used to do. They used to hike a mountain once a year, and they'd go to the very top of the mountain, and they'd cleanse in this freezing cold water. We'll probably get into later podcast my love for ice baths and cold therapy. And so this is kind of what spurred it on. They go up this misogi hike, and they go up to the top of this mountain, and they would cleanse themselves once a year. And so the term misogi is a Japanese term for cleansing, and what it's turned into in recent months or recent years has been a challenge that people do in the Japanese culture that they believe that there's a 50% or less success rate. And so their goal is each year to choose one thing that is going to be a 50% or less success rate. And with that, sorry, my phone's vibrating. With that, the chance, as Americans, typically, we don't take on many things that we don't think we're going to succeed at. And so I looked back on my life and I was like, I think there's only 2 or 3 things I've ever done in my life that if you ask me, what are the chances you're successful at this that you're going to do, that it would be less than 50%. And so as I sit down with people, my goal is, man, what's the misogi you took in your life? What's the misogi you said, I think there's a less than 50% chance I can succeed or attain this goal? For me, last year was, it usually is around a physical challenge. Last year was, in 2023, I wanted to do a 5,000 push-up month, which was, for me, not very easy. I don't work out a ton. It was more of a, man, can I do this every day? And I think it was 170 or whatever it was, 156 push-ups or whatever it was, and completed it last year. And so did that again this year. My misogi for this year was a certain amount of weight I wanted to be able to move on the bar. Coming up, we're in December now. I don't think I'm going to hit that one, but in the end, it was a less than 50% chance. So that's where I'm at. My Misogi for this year, my challenge to ask guests that come in, and my challenge to you is that, do you have a Misogi for this year? Do you have something that you say, man, I don't know if I can achieve this goal? And part of the Misogi is the success, the feeling of accomplishment when you can accomplish a Misogi that you truly believed that you didn't have a greater than 50% chance of succeeding at, is so much sweeter than succeeding at something that you thought you had a 90% chance of success. So as I bring people in, as I sit down and talk with people, my goal is to encourage you, challenge you, and push you to take a risk, whatever that may be in your life. Maybe it's with your family, maybe it's in a relationship, maybe it's in a business, maybe it's starting your own thing, maybe it's quitting a job. I don't know what it is for you. You know what it is. But yeah, take risk, take risk, take risk. Risky business. Let's get risky. Here we go. A lot of fun people coming in. Shoot me a message if you think you know somebody that has taken big risk in their life and they should be on the show. Let's go.